This podcast is brought to you by Guiding Growing Minds, a social enterprise that aims to give all children the best opportunity to reach their potential and succeed in living rich and meaningful lives.
Dr. Billy Garvey, we made it to episode 100. It was a live show at the Melbourne Arts Centre. What are people going to learn this week?
Yeah, well, we learned how much we love the pop culture parenting community. So it was a phenomenal night with everyone, and we got to speak to a lot of people and meet you all. So thank you for coming and sharing such a special occasion. One of the probably best nights of our lives.
Easily.
If you're interested in us coming to your hometown, we will tour, so reach out in 2025. And we touched off on a few different topics.
Yep.
So we missed up the polls.
Yes. We messed up calling out the polls. There are some polls there about 15 minutes in that talk about some numbers, but those numbers are now in the social post that you're either seeing.
The numbers will be there.
Yeah, or in the show notes as well. But it was fantastic. The crowd were incredibly generous, Billy, I believe. If you're watching on social, we're holding up a couple of wrestling belts here at the moment, what we were given, and there's a surfboard now in the background.
Yeah, it's a beautiful surfboard that everyone will be able to spot you in the surf on it.
At least they won't ask me for any tips. I'll be like, wrong one. But guys, we hope you really enjoy the episode. Yes, dig in.
Hey, don't let your mother smell that beer on your breath. She'll take it out on me.
I don't object to fun. I love fun. In fact, I'm the grand funk master of fun.
Hello and welcome to Pop Culture Parenting. My name's Nick and I'm a developing parent. We've got Dr. Billy Garvey here, who's a developmental paediatrician. It's really happening. A live event starring you and I.
You know, the Fast and the Furious franchise is like really kind of silly and stuff, but it's a really good movie. It doesn't have a lot of the convoluted, crazy stuff that the other ones do because, the first one is really good and then from 2 on, they get ludicrous. Message of love back to everyone else about how much we love all of them. But I hope we get to keep doing this because I put a lot into it. I get way more out of it. Yeah, just everyone out there, thank you for coming along on this journey with us. It'd be nothing without all the people that contribute to it. Yeah, so we answer a question from a fan actually. Can we say fan or listener? From a fan. Hi, I'm Billy, a developmental paediatrician.
And I'm Nick, a developing parent.
We're going to use scenes from iconic movies to talk about how we best support our kids.
My best.
Hey,
Oh my goodness.
don't let your mother smell that beer on your breath. She'll take it out on me.
God. So bright.
What does he do?
I think I'm getting a sunburn already under those lights.
You look amazing, mate. You look absolutely beautiful.
Won't we?
You've never looked more beautiful.
Oh, thank you, Billy. I appreciate that.
Wow.
Episode
10 minutes ago, I realised that I packed my going to a gig jeans that are pretty much sprayed on me.
You're pretty tight.
Couldn't make a different call, so
You look great.
apologies for everyone on the
A
front
real
row.
Quadzilla over there this evening.
How amazing. I've been visualising this in my head for months. We're going to do a couple of quick things first. We want to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land we're on, the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. We pay our respects to all past, present and emerging elders. Guiding Growing Minds, just as First Nations have been doing for thousands and thousands of years, tries to use storytelling to share knowledge, and it's been beautiful to have this journey so far. We're all here because of a lot of people we're going to mention at the end, but the amazing Megan at Helping Hand Education is the reason it's not running at a loss. So nice. She's amazing. She has a beautiful connection with the podcast in that she her husband, people who listen might remember there was a guy who called in about how to help a kid who was struggling. It wasn't his on a sport team, that was Megan's partner. And Megan also tries to use the knowledge as a clinician to share it with the community. So check out her stuff, follow her, she's amazing. Also Ashley Tranarund, who's also helping us out, which is phenomenal. She's flown down from Canberra, occupational therapy, check out her stuff. We'll talk at the end about some thank yous, so just indulge me, because I'll take my time with that one. We've got to get a selfie, because who knows, this might go so badly there's never another live show, but...
Need some evidence, don't we, Billy?
In case there is. And we couldn't get the Bluetooth to work, so we are true boomers. So we're going to do a timer.
It's a terrible opening shot. Those chins, Billy, just when we get up here. So we're going to get this shot?
Yeah, sure. Right. What do you need?
Come in.
Hang on.
Oh, you're latched.
Caught.
So we've got to crouch down. All right, we've got it on chins. There we go.
Amazing.
Could be used. God, I hope professional photographers somewhere nearby. It's going to make that work a bit better.
So I've heard this beautiful energy out there. Shout out to Josh, who's on the decks, who wrote the intro song as I walked around the park with him, a dog park 3.5 years ago, from Earthcaller. It's amazing, beautiful energy.
Fantastic.
How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good, actually. I've been doing some. Well, I don't want to reveal too much, but I did spend some time on the stage earlier by myself. Did a couple of run-throughs, and I thought if I couldn't do it in front of the sound crew, I couldn't do it in front of 350 of my closest friends. So here we are. No, feeling good yourself. Is this kind of what you imagined 3 years ago? Like, did you see this actually happening?
Yeah, like I think I've always known the need is there, because people know, like we sit in clinic and I'll say something and someone goes, wow, that was helpful, and I've usually stolen it off someone else, another clinician or someone in the community, or a kid that's taught me something, and then I'll say it again that day, and they're waiting 2.5, 3 years to hear it, and I'm like, this is crazy. But there's this beautiful thing that's happened. Very quickly, in 20 years ago, I used... The only time I had got pass marks in absolutely everything up until my 4th year of uni, when I finally got an OK mark above a pass, and it was because I used the movie Daredevil to talk about neuroplasticity. Okay. And then I spent 18 years looking for Nick, who could actually make it make sense. So it's been a beautiful journey. So we might touch on that at the end, but we're going to try and be a bit tight up front, aren't we? So I think we're going to start with some polls. Hopefully you guys have answered some polls.
Yes,
and
hopefully we've had that come through.
We're going to get, hopefully, some visual of that. It's
and
okay if we're not.
I can adapt very quickly. Oh, no.
Beautiful. So that hurts a little bit.
Feel pretty stupid right now.
For listeners, you look beautiful.
Right. I voted 40 times, so... I
don't know whether I should take jokes personally or not. You're the actual funny one.
Yeah, wow.
Thank you,
that's
Annalise.
Worse than like an 80% loss.
I hope Annalise voted for me. She knows
like
how much I love Tristan. Good news, completely unrelated. The podcast is continuing beyond 100.
That hurts. It's really close.
I might need a new partner. Yeah, amazing. I care more about the 20% because, we just need to do better with what we're doing in the community and everything. So it's really amazing, you guys. It's what a safe community it is. Mean Girls and Parenting Style. Wow. Amazing. What's your favourite?
I'm a cool mom.
I'm a cool mom. I'm not your typical mom. I'm
permissive,
a cool mom.
Permissive parent, hate and attachment. I reckon that was almost the most listened. Instant on Love.
That was the toughest one for me to go through, hate and attachment.
Yeah, that was tough.
Yeah, it was the only one I've copped clinical heat about, but one of it was a psychiatrist that broke down and said, I can clearly see this stuff from your childhood that's informing the podcast. I was like, I don't think I asked for that kind of feedback, but so we got a bit personally. And then we're going to read out. Do you want to go first?
Should we play
We'll play Clark W if we can and get the visuals off him, if that's possible. From the amazing AV1, who will clearly...
Don't let your mother smell that beer on your breath. She'll take it out on me.
Now, we've picked from what people
He's so
sent in.
misunderstood. Like, he's tried so well. So these are from people that contributed to us via email leading up to it. So we're going to start with the Griswolds. They're the tough ones. We're going to finish on the lighter stuff. I'm reading this one out because I've actually done the same thing as this parent. So it's not an easy read, but we'll do it. So literally cupping my hand over my 3-year-old's mouth in a frantic attempt to mute the screams of a tantrum in his bedroom of the shared wall of his sleeping baby sister. The fear and dread that consumes me at the thought of having to start the bedtime routine over again on a solo night with the kids creates the perfect storm for stupid decisions like this one. Of course, it was no help soothing his cries and just prolonged the upset, made me feel like crap afterwards. But as Nick and Billy say, it's all in the recovery. Lucky I'm okay there. I've
done that one.
I've done that one, yeah. It's hard.
Yeah, it's tough, isn't it? And my one we've had to deal with, slightly lighter, but when the twins had started crawling, I was changing one in the bedroom and came out to find the other one and found his way into the bathroom and had the toilet brush in his mouth. Complete panic set in. He was completely fine and is now a very healthy 7-year-old.
There you go. Beautiful.
Lessons to always keep the bathroom door shut. So I reckon we're a bit similar in that we, Evie's a pretty boisterous, like jumping around stuff, but Annalise and I have found hazards that Charlie's found in the house that we never saw, jumping off benches and just
boys?
seeking out
I'm gonna ask
injury.
you.
Well, I reckon Ronnie's a bit like that.
Yeah, everyone's pretty adventurous.
She finds stuff to jump off. And
Yeah,
she's
climb
pretty outgoing.
things. You turn around, they're up
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. Should we let's throw Carl up if that's all right.
We'll get in, yeah. Where is he?
I don't object to fun. I love fun. In fact, I'm the grand funk master of fun.
We just thought because he balanced so much that he was such a good dad. And
Yeah,
he's like the
we picked those guys really early. We picked him when we thought we were going to do TV shows.
Yeah, we actually thought we were doing TV shows. We ended up doing movies, you're right. Winslow, my ADHD child was having a meltdown in the Woolworths car park. While I was sitting with her co-regulating, a postman watched and remarked it was good for her immune system to be on the ground. He then asked my daughter if she had a good mum, and in the middle of the meltdown, she stopped and said, yes, she does. I'm a bit on the verge since I was sitting out the back there.
Usually me, mate. I was nearly
Not
crying
helping.
out the back there.
And just one special mention, this person said, I'll hold off on the Griswold as booking in a live show for my wife to attend at 34 weeks pregnant might be setting myself up for a major parenting fail. So I know they're here or they're not here. They might have already given birth. So I'm not sure. We might see them again later. But yeah.
Beautiful.
Hey, here you go.
Yeah.
Here you go. Hey,
Well
hey.
done.
Nice. Well done.
Beautiful. All right, my best Winslow moment was only recently. Unfortunately, my husband and I had our first miscarriage. It was hugely traumatic, and my 2.5-year-old witnessed a lot of the physical and emotional pain we went through during the process. When I was upset and crying, she came and stroked my head and asked, "Mummy, what are you feeling?" Seeing her show compassion and parrot back to me the script, how we manage our big emotions, was simply amazing and validated our parenting approach. So yeah, there's a beautiful thing that's happening where I think all of us are trying to raise this generation as best as we can, and it's, what an investment. And I think, I've said this a lot of times, but the secret ingredient of PCP is you, and it's because you genuinely come there to better support the girls, don't you?
Yeah. Like it's jokes aside, like it's no joke. I come in without any idea of what you're going to be talking about. Mm-hmm. You tell me the movie, and then you go, well, this is the scene and this is the topic, and I am learning on the spot. And if anyone's ever seen me try and parent, like in a park, which I know a few people do, it's real. Like I'm not sitting here studying and reading up. I remember when we first started, you gave me about the 5th topic, and I read up on it and read a lot on it, and then you're like, yeah, so we're going to talk about, I can't remember what it was like ADHD? I was like, yep. And I ran it all off to you, and you were like, oh, like, you're not asking questions. I'm like, because I understood the sort of topic.
Yeah, yeah.
And you're like, okay, that's the last time you do any reading on the topic.
Yeah.
I wasn't an expert by the end of it, but I had all this knowledge. I was like, what's going on?
Mate, you're an expert now. But yeah, so it's been this beautiful thing about how we, how can we do this better for our kids? Because I think a lot of us had good times. You grew up, beautiful family, like, you know what I mean? Your sister's here.
She's here
tonight.
Somewhere.
I think she asked for an autograph of your photo. So I saw that, I was like, God, he's got some serious fans. And then he's like, he's my sister, Billy.
Family.
Because I get stopped a lot and told how amazing Nick is. I get gifts given to him at conferences. The first time the person's like, I've got a gift. And I was like, oh, great. And then she's like, it's for Nick. And so I'm used to that now. I've been at like medical conferences where people are like shouting from the audience about where's Nick, talking about something really serious. Yeah. So
I do like being called Dr. Nick, I got to be honest. When they send the emails in, I get a buzz every single time. That's one of my favourite things. What's your favourite thing about the podcast itself? Like, is it the amount of feedback you get? Like, what is it that you really like?
There's two things, mate. It's protected time with you. Like I look forward to it. Like the podcast, especially in the beginning, was this really lonely thing where I was like, I'm sure I'm doing the wrong thing. I was getting a little bit of that coming through from people in my professional world. And but I always like genuinely light up every time you walk in, you come in on the bike and, fly in and we just jump on and do it. Because we don't, Nick, I often tell Nick the word of like, how to pronounce it or whatever, how to say it, and then we hit record. So you've heard the word for the first time or the title or the topic we're going to talk about. And then it's this beautiful thing where I kind of forget about the microphone and I just get to talk with one of my best mates about something I really care about. And
it's straight through. So this recording tonight will be straight through. Everything's included. I think we've edited once when you had a coughing fit. It was about the only time we've ever stopped rolling. I can't think of any other time, so it's all genuinely there. It doesn't change. It's because parenting, you don't get too like it's so hard. Like you kind of don't stop and rewind and go back. But fortunately, you're like obviously you get 5 cracks at doing it better that day because it doesn't stop. So
totally,
which is good, but it doesn't stop.
Yeah, definitely. But I think it. I love sitting in clinic, but I think the podcast actually does something more meaningful. And that's what Guiding Growing Minds is trying to do. But I love people coming up and talking to me about it. It's really funny, actually. There's been this beautiful thing that's happened where Evie, my daughter who's with me, sees the world through this lens of like, people come up and say hi and say thank you. And that's like, it's phenomenal. The second bit, maybe she shouldn't see too much where it's just where they're always like, oh, Billy. And then I'm like, oh, so tell me about yourself. And they're like, I got to go, mate. And they're trying to get rid of me. It's
true.
It's always true. Pretty funny, but I just love it so much. So, time with you, mate, and to be trying to make a little bit of a difference. It's something I care about personally. Went through a hard time and, couldn't help my mum. And, stuff I haven't talked about on the pod or anywhere else that happened. And, I think I just now I'm trying to be the best that I can be at that, and I work really hard at it and care a lot about it, and it helps me with my own parenting journey as well. So it's
and I mean it's like the work you put in. It's unbelievable. It's
that's
it sounds stupid when I tell people I'm like it's 20 hours per episode easily in the part ones. It's as many getting the right questions through to capture what you think everyone's saying and what's going on in clinic.
The questions that people send in are like phenomenal, and every single one of them I've read. And but it's quite funny because I do so much research, but one of the things I research the most is the movie. And that ludicrous joke, I think that is one of the funniest jokes ever. I'm like, I can't believe some big stand-up hasn't stolen it off me. Like, no one else thinks it's funny. But I'm like, it's smart, it's witty, it's funny. And I realise you're laughing at me, not with me, in the clip, but I'm okay with it. But I just do a lot. I'm just trying to think about it. I'm like always absorbed in it. But it's a beautiful thing to be absorbed in, and I wish so many people in the world could feel the feedback and warmth that I get, because I read all the correspondence and everything like that. It's just amazing, and I just know what's going on out in the community. And I think we've spoken about that before, that I have this different experience. I'm motivated because I see these kids every day that I wish I'd met years before, or had told them this thing years before that I've learned, and so it's beautiful. But I've got no idea how we're going for time. So AV1 had a really good plan, and
no, we're doing well. We we would, but I think maybe you want to talk quickly about the Patreon, maybe.
Oh, good. How bad's that? Everyone's like, make sure you mention Patreon, and I almost forgot it. So yeah, we're going to launch Patreon. The reason we're going to launch Patreon is, and there will never be, as I've said, there'll never be ads on the podcast. I think it's really important that it's for the community. We get a lot of people who send in that they want to contribute. We don't want anyone to contribute that can't, but the Patreon is essentially going to see if we can resource it a bit better, because it's just one of those things that a lot of people give a lot of time for free, and it's really just about how do we make this. And Guiding Growing Minds is pushing forward. I didn't tell you this actually, or sorry.
But hold on, just the other detail. No episode, every episode's still available to everyone.
Yeah, there'll be nothing
changes.
Nothing
you go listen to everything everywhere. Nothing behind a paywall at all whatsoever. At all.
Yeah.
Like it's. Sorry.
Yeah.
Nothing behind a paywall at all. Nothing's really changed. It's just if you'd like to,
to contribute,
help sustain it.
Yeah, we might be able to make a bit more of a community that exists within that world a bit, without even having to,
Yeah. Anyway, that's
a lot
what
of money.
it was.
But you know what I didn't tell you?
What?
We had a recent. So Guiding Growing Minds, the amazing team. We'll talk about it a bit more at the end. Have been reaching out for these partnerships. You know who recently reached out to us?
Oh, I haven't been. No one's replacing me, are they? What?
No, mate, never.
Go.
Irreplaceable.
Who?
Mattel.
Mattel.
Oh. So I'm thinking a Nick and Billy's dream house. What do you think?
What would be in it?
Well, mate, there'd be some mats for us to roll around on.
We're close enough.
How many bedrooms would it need, mate?
God, imagine that. What
Yeah.
would we do? Can I get like this outfit on a doll
You can.
sort of thing?
How is this outfit? Someone
Thank you,
recognised it.
sister-in-law. Yes.
It's phenomenal.
I do have about 5 outfit changes as well coming up, Billy, which
Yes.
is interesting in itself.
Yeah. So no, should we talk about what we're going to do?
I think we should, Billy.
So we're going to do something different for the live. This is going to be an episode, so everything's getting captured, but not only us personally in terms of our faces. But I thought the idea of the scenes is a really purposeful one, about like how we grew up with these movies, and the cultures we grew up with influences how we behave. The biggest predictor of how we will parent is how we were parented, but the culture exists in the society that we grow up through. And I've probably cried enough in media about masculinity lately, but it's a lot of it's informed by that. You push it down, it's tough, you just punch them in the nose if he annoys you, all of that stuff. But that's not true, and there's too many kids out there, especially boys, that are struggling with it. So we kind of pick these movies and topics that seem to matter and help, and then run it through that lens. But what we thought we'd talk about is a couple of key movies and some scenes, and then break it down a bit.
We thought it was a great time of year to be doing these particular scenes. We know Christmas is always a really interesting time with families, not always smooth, so we think that hopefully you've got something you can actually walk away with, some tactics and stuff to sort of help.
Yeah.
But you will see. I mean, they're great movies. They do it really well, so we'll just sort of watch them, I guess.
And first movie?
Home Alone.
Home Alone. So someone was helping me out with a couple of the photo shots, so there's probably no surprise that one's me.
Patreon. Can some of the Patreon please go to some Photoshop skills? Something.
But yeah, it's really funny. This movie is so. This brings me back to childhood. This movie. And it's funny, this like archetypal, like getting caught up in stuff. And well, the scene we're going to use, probably no surprise to anyone. You know what, I regret doing Home Alone first, because I think I just had this bugbear about how misinterpreted the research is about time out. And everyone's kind of made it this awful thing that happens, instead of what like Montrose Wolf 40, 50 years ago actually built it for, which was you actually leave with the kid and help the kid, and then go back to help the kid succeed in the environment. But everyone's like, not everyone, people are like, lock them in the door, pin them closed, they'll dysregulate even more and then punish them or whatever. And so it was one of those things that was just really annoying me. So that was the first one I picked. We launched right before Christmas and it was perfect. But that one and Aliens, I kind of really wish we'd gone back to it because it was so early. You probably saw the graph at the start that showed like our downloads, and it's been really amazing watching it. But at the start, we were getting like 6 people listening a day. And I was like, we know more than 6 people. So,
Yeah.
How is that true?
Jeez, it was slow going.
It was
Like 500 followers on Instagram.
Yeah.
Fair income, I reckon that was 3 months, 4 months in. And I was like, on day one, we had 160, I remember. And I thought, here we go, launching.
Yeah.
And we were doing episodes every week.
Oh, God.
Every week
Yeah.
to start with.
Yeah.
And we quickly went, we need to bust these into 2 things.
Yeah.
Do 2-part episodes and take questions. And then we went to Fortnite. It was
the part 2, like every bit of this is a bit boring, but every bit of the podcast actually has a purpose and is evidence-based. Like we've talked about this, the influences that culture and society has on us. The Griswolds and Winlows are intentional. Like I think a lot of us look at social media and go, there's this perfect parenting where mums get up and have a green smoothie with their toddler and then do yoga with them. And you're like hair on fire, every kid's on a screen. And
that's how it is in my house. What are you talking about?
It's like, this isn't making me feel better. And then we want to celebrate wins. And then I talk about the theory through the lens of the movie and then we pick a scene. But one of the best things you can do as a parent is what's called reflective practice. And that's just to sit there and go, how am I going in this? And a lot of people like, not to always bang on about it and play a tiny violin loudly, but my mum never had an opportunity to do that. She worked 3 jobs and was on her own and really struggled with mental illness and all that stuff. But a lot of us in this room, if you're here, you're parenting well. Like if you come to this, and find a babysitter or whatever, that's amazing because you are in a mode of reflective practice. And so that's why we kind of wound it through. And then people, like the best thing about the podcast is the community, the people that send in the longs, you guys are amazing. Like you want, like this is, when Nick and I were talking 3 nights ago, he's over at my place probably talking me off a ledge, as he usually is, because I'm just drowning in chaos. And him and Annalise, people are just constantly negotiating with me about it's all right, Billy. But we were talking about how this will probably, even if it ended now, this would probably be one of the highlights of our life.
Yep. It's amazing, yeah. We want it to keep going, but it's not easy. It's not easy.
Well, yeah, but it's this beautiful thing, and it's not you.
Well, no, I don't know. No, it's easy working with you. Like,
sure.
It's fine. We don't have creative differences. I mean, the feedback's clear on the
it's
outfits,
all right,
mate. I mean, we've got to do something.
Just wait till winter and the heater's gone again.
What?
You'll have to earn the heater back.
Yeah.
Through winter.
Bit of cold water and a heater wouldn't hurt. Yeah, no.
But yeah, so we're going to do that. We're going to try and do the same thing, a little bit different this time, and then we're going to do a Q&A live. So there's going to be roving mics that'll be coming around. And just in case I forget to say that, I'm going to hang around at the end. We all want you all to hang around and have a bit of a celebration. It's a bit different to like just clear out of here. I'm sure lots of people have to go. But if you've got stuff that you don't feel comfortable asking in front of everyone, just come and grab me because it's an important part about it. And I love hearing about it and I love talking about it and all that stuff. It's a real privilege. So yeah, Home Alone. So Home Alone, the movie we're setting you up for, it's been chaos. They were all getting ready to go to Paris and it's wild. And we've probably all been there a little bit, but this is an amplification of it that we've all probably know what happens in the movie. But we thought we'd...
we'll just revisit this scene.
We'd start there.
Yeah.
We're going to throw it on screen.
Stage?
We get a little bit in the way.
Let's make some space here, I reckon, Billy.
We'll watch it with you. We'll come out and find some room. AV1 will give us a bit of time.
Yeah, we'll just pop back out.
There are 15 people in this house. You're the only one who has to make trouble.
I'm the only one getting dumped on.
You're the only one acting up. Now, get upstairs.
I am upstairs, dummy. The 3rd floor?
Go.
It's scary up there.
Don't be silly. Fuller will be up in a little while.
I don't want a super Fuller. You know about him. He wets the bed. He'll pee all over me. I know it.
Fine. We'll put him somewhere else.
I'm sorry.
It's too late. Get upstairs.
Everyone in this family hates me.
Then maybe you should ask Santa for a new family.
I don't want a new family. I don't want any family. Families suck.
Just stay up there. I don't want to see you again for the rest of the night.
I don't want to see you again for the rest of my whole life. And I don't want to see anybody else either.
I hope you don't mean that. You'd feel pretty sad if you woke up tomorrow morning and you didn't have a family.
No, I wouldn't.
Then say it again. Maybe it'll happen.
I hope I never see any jerks again.
There are 15 people in this house and you're the only one who has to make trouble.
I'm the only one getting dumped on.
You're the only one messing up. Now get upstairs.
I am upstairs, dummy. The 3rd floor?
Go.
It's scary up there.
Don't be silly. Fuller will be up in a little while.
Whoa. I don't want to sleep with Fuller. He wets the bed. You know that. He'll pee all over me.
Fine. We'll put him somewhere else.
I'm sorry.
It's too late. Now go.
Everybody in this family hates me.
Well, maybe you should ask Santa for a new family.
I don't want a new family. I don't want any family. Families suck.
Just go. I don't want to see you again for the rest of the night.
I don't want to see you again for the rest of my whole life. And I don't want to see anybody else either.
Wow. Mate. I'm sorry, you're really struggling now, aren't you?
Yeah, it's hard. I've got that butthead brother. I've got those cousins that have been really rude to me, calling me les incompetents. It's annoying. And where are you supporting me?
I heard how your uncle was speaking to you. I need to talk to him about that. You don't deserve that. I just haven't been connected with you enough, have I?
No.
I got caught up in Paris.
Yeah.
I forgot about you.
Yeah, I'm like even worried you might even leave me here. Like, you've forgotten totally about me.
I could never do that. Mate, you mean so much to me. You're more important than Paris. I got caught up in all the chaos and I forgot that I just needed to connect with you.
Shucks.
How about this? You're so good at helping me. How about you come help me put the rubber mattress on Fuller's bed? And I got some plain cheese pizza for you and me to just sit down and enjoy together, because you're amazing.
Thanks. Let's do it.
Scene.
Okay.
Yeah, how did you feel about that scene?
Yeah, like, sort of jokes aside, like I've been in that, like, really stressed out sitch, and I think I haven't done time out for a while, but I used to do it. It just comes to you naturally, like, go to your room. And then before you know it, you go, oh, well, and then you learn it doesn't work. But why is it so hard to catch yourself? Like, you're like this parent in this moment, and you're like, I just need to resolve it. Like, why is it so bloody hard?
Yeah, well, I think it happens to all of us. You know, like today I was at the, you know, of course, no one's going to be surprised I left everything to the last minute. And Annalise, who's phenomenal, took the kids out to just give me a bit of space to get stuff done. How's that? How big a hypocrite am I? I like spend all this time.
I'm just stay in my lane. I don't know what I was doing. For those listening to the podcast, it was just... okay.
Yeah, I feel like this massive hypocrite because I'm like telling everyone, you know, that we can do better than this, and I'm often cutting it out of time and leaving Annalise in the little time she has to do all the parenting. But no, Annalise said it's fine, get everything that you were meant to have done over the last couple of months done this morning, and I'll take the kids, and then rocks up with a Christmas tree on the roof of the car, and I was fuming. I got caught up in it, and Evie's like trying to help, and I'm just getting annoyed and frustrated because it's easy, and I think it's a skill you have to learn to catch yourself like that and say, hey, you know, like I'm clearly dysregulating, I need to step out of this and stuff. And we intentionally picked that scene because it's a common one. He's not dysregulating, he's just getting frustrated, but he's still kind of there with us. And he just finds that, you know, he's so caught up in everything. And if you remember, like you said, there's all these awful steps that lead to that scene for Kevin where his uncle has a go at him, Biff kind of dismisses him, he's kind of just getting kind of talked down to, and that's what happens to a lot of kids, not intentionally, but just in the world they're in. And, you know, a lot of kids feel like that and we don't intend to be like that with them, but if we can kind of catch them and do that and realise that, a lot of the time our pressure points are when it happens. Like, I don't know about for you, but I'm so bad at drop-offs that I was an hour late the other day just because it took me so long and I still stuffed it up because I'm like going in nervous of how it's going to be. And even the carer, as I was leaving, one of the
staff
staff
members... Did they just feed off it though?
Yeah, of course. But it's even funny because as I was leaving, I was like, the person there's like, it's okay, Billy. And I was like, yeah, I think Annalise is way better than this at me. And before I'd even finished the sentence, she's like, yeah, she's way better than you at this. Like, all right, don't agree with me instantly. Like, but yeah, I just really struggle with it. So, but you're much better in that, mate.
No, well, I've had lots of practice because I'm a couple of years ahead of you, so that's kind of what I've learned. But I do try to apply the stuff that you obviously teach me each week, and like that's the good part about the fortnight in between. And I get about 800 chances. Yeah. But I want to know about like, and I'm not just like saying this, like it is about the recovery.
Yeah, so it is. It's just the thing about the recovery is that the recovery is not a time of skill development. I think a lot of us make the mistake of going
because you recover well.
You recover well, and then you go, so next time this isn't going to happen, hey? And that's not when we learn something. You learn to ride the bike because someone is standing next to you while you're riding it, not because someone tells you off afterwards and says, do better next time. You know, so I think a lot of us were raised like that, where it was like, I'll come down hard enough. And one of the biggest mistakes we make is we put more pressure in. We go, you're frustrating me, I'm running late. And when we think about it, there's often two expressions kids are just trying to have, autonomy or emotional expression. And if you can think about that for him, he's struggling in the moment because he's overwhelmed by everything that's happening. And he's got a mum that's dismissing him as well and not connecting with him. And it's a moment of connection. And understandably, all of us have been that mum. But if we can catch that moment and go, this kid, if I'm stressed and overwhelmed, this kid's probably really stressed and overwhelmed, and they don't have an adult brain functioning of higher functioning like executive function, impulse control and reaction and all that stuff, how do I just get down and connect with them before they're dysregulated and go, hey mate, and think, do you need to express emotions? Do you need autonomy? Do you need some control? Whatever it is. And that he clearly needs both of those things. He's been attacked a couple of times by family members. He's completely caught up in all the madness. And that's what he needs. And, you know, that's what the beautiful thing to be would have had. See it as like, maybe not the addict, but she goes out with him, brings him back to calm, and then supports him back in to succeed in that environment. If you can do that with your kids, you'll set them up way better than all the rest of us were for having good competencies around emotional regulation.
Would have made for an ordinary film.
yeah, true.
No, yeah, he comes down.
It's amazing though, that film, like I can be all serious and riff on all this stuff, and then I can watch Marv going down the stairs, and still, after 500 times, I'm still rolling around laughing. So
and everyone was talking about the nail in the foot as well.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a tough watch.
But
it's almost like a Trey,
the other thing about
never-ending story. That's
Home Alone and Parenthood and all these things. Like, who has a house like that? Like, you know what I mean?
John Hughes films, just fantastic.
Like, for those Victorian, I grew up in Frankston, I was like, if I become a doctor, I'll probably have a helipad on my house. Had a couple of yachts, drive a sports car, get a 20-year-old Subaru.
Can we get a helicopter?
What happened there?
No.
We'll see how we go. But yeah, so it's this beautiful thing, and we're trying to, like, within the humour, give a skill set, which is just like drop down, acknowledge the kid. So just remembering, like, acknowledge the feelings, look for connection. How can I help? How can I give you language around that? And remember, most of the time we don't problem solve. We just validate. Like, we don't like it when people do that. Like, and mate, him and Annalise are probably the most trained adults in trying to dysregulate another adult, because I'm, like, as people probably heard recently, like, I was having a really tough day and just hadn't seen Annalise for ages, and the kids were struggling. Nick came in and just started cleaning the house. So
yeah, it was nervous energy. I was like, "How you going in here?" Yeah. Oh, just clean some benches. And just like this.
But it's beautiful. If you can just think about, what would I need in this moment? I'd probably need someone to just connect with me and validate, not dismiss it and say, or put pressure on me. Like, we only really do that to kids. We only really come down to them and say, like, you should be better than this. Like, as adults, we know not to do it, but kids, we think we're, like, setting them up. Not like Mean Girls, it's a perfect example of, like, that authoritarian, like, you know, I'm the law, just come down on you is cold and doesn't work and sets kids up to fail in their own self-esteem.
Okay.
And lots of other things.
Brilliant. Well done. That was really good.
Thanks, mate.
Jeez.
Hope.
Do you reckon we do another one? Another film?
Yes. So, film 2. People who've been following closely, one of my favourites.
It is.
I wonder if anyone's got a shout out of what film we're going to do.
One of his favourites?
It's close.
Not next.
Well, I'll give you another clue. I tried to build into the script that there was a pash right at the end. Those of you who've got it. But he's like, mate, we're not doing the pash. So,
I'm not driving in the car.
so Thelma and Louise is phenomenal. Like, what?
Why do you love it so much? Like, what have we done? 54?
I still get, probably no surprise to anyone, I get pretty emotional about most movies. But I get really emotional at, once again, another Photoshop of mine. But I don't know, does anyone else love this movie? It's phenomenal. Like, what a beautiful portrayal of, like, this beautiful friendship, like, strong women. And I think that there's this amazing thing in this movie about, like, so it's not out yet, but there's a national curriculum coming for mental health first aid for primary school age kids. There's never been one that's existed. There's probably people in this room that have done other training. And we were building this content, and I was like, man, we should use this on the podcast. And I think this is a beautiful demonstration. Like, there's going to be a third movie soon that we're going to do. But when we do, one of the first role plays that really kicked off was us being a couple, wasn't it? Like, when we were talking about that.
Yep.
I just kept throwing babe in because I could tell how uncomfortable you were feeling about it. I kept calling you babe.
And it's probably worth calling out, it's why we've picked to do the role play, because people do like it.
So it was the point we came up with, wasn't it? Help a kid, help a partner. Because a lot of it is, like, if you're lucky enough to have a partner that's, you know, supporting you in your parenting journey, but also just a friend. And there's this movie's amazing for lots of reasons, but the scene that we're going to show you is, you know, throwback to Brad Pitt again. They're on the run, and Louise's partner has found them some cash, and they're like, we're just going to get out of here and get to Mexico. For those of you that don't remember, this man was, like, sexually assaulting Gina Davis's character, Thelma, and Louise comes out and kills him, rightfully so, like, he's a piece of crap. But they then go on the run because they don't know what to do. They're going for the border of Mexico, and they got some cash. It's all going to work. Brad Pitt comes in and hooks up with Thelma, and then steals all the cash. And they've just found out the money's gone. So it was all this money that Louise had scored from her partner.
It was her savings.
Yeah, savings. And it was all going to be okay, and they were happy, and they were kind of just about to hit the border, and then this happens. And it's this devastating moment. It's probably no surprise what's about to happen next. See if I can keep the mic in. Thanks, mate.
No worries.
Louise. You okay? Louise. I'm sorry, I mean it. Louise, it's okay. It's okay.
No, Thelma, it's not okay. It's definitely not okay. None of this is okay. I mean, what are we gonna do for money? Huh? How are we gonna get gas? I mean, trade on our good looks. I mean, oh, God damn, Thelma, it's not okay.
Louise. Hey, now you listen to me. Don't you worry about it. You hear me? Come on. Stand up. Louise, just don't you worry about it. You hear? Come on. Come on, damn it. Get your stuff. Let's get out of here. Come on. Jesus Christ. Come on. Come on. Oh, take your damn time. Come on. Here we go.
Louise, are you okay? Louise, I'm sorry. I mean it. It's gonna be okay.
None of this is okay. It's definitely not okay. I can't build no connection with these kids. I'm working, you're working. How the hell are we gonna find the time? It's too bloody hard. What are we going to do, quit our jobs and cheat on our good looks?
You're right. It's not okay. I'm sorry I said it was okay.
I just don't know how it's going to work, Billy.
Louise,
Yes,
you're an amazing mama to our 6 boys. Yeah, we might not have a fancy car or a big house, but you got a big heart. It's one of the reasons you're the best mama I've ever known.
Thanks, Billy.
I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's ahead. I don't have all the answers. But I know whatever cliff we're coming to, we'll just make out and go over it together.
Thanks, Billy.
Same.
Ugh. Any excuse to wear a pair of cowboy boots, I've got to say. Especially tucked in.
They were not bought for the show. They were pre-owned.
So a lot of sort of mental health sort of first aid approach there, like someone catastrophising, you know, like it's a scene we can look at, but like it's bloody hard.
Yeah, it's really hard, and I think that one of the things that I often come up against in clinic is that there's one parent that's cool with it all, and there's one parent that isn't, and often the one that isn't, I'm probably saying this because I'm biased, is the sensitive one, you know, and I think
they're not okay with it.
Yeah, or just struggling, finding a hard time, feeling like you're not good at it. Like one of my favourite. I've got a real benefit over most professionals that work in this space because most families that come and see me are help seeking. Like they've waited a long time and they're really warm. But I also meet families that come and see me through child protection and they're told like, you know, you have to, otherwise we might take the kids away again and this guy's going to have some call over it. And how awful is that? And it's one of the big privileges of the clinical work that I do because I get to find something about them that they do well. It's got to be true, and then I genuinely emphasise how great they are at that. And often they will tell me through tears that's the first time anyone's ever said anything positive about my parenting.
Yeah, what I like is that you, I think the tactic you use is where you kind of bring it back from like acknowledging it's not okay, I can't just sugarcoat it, being okay, and you actually, is that where you start winding it back first? You're like, yeah, it might not be good now.
Yeah, so I think we can be really clear. I think one of the things that parents often ask me is like, how do I get respect or saying sorry? And it's always like we feel that. That's how we learn things. We feel it first coming to us, you know what I mean? And we see that as the value. And then I think the parent who's struggling and the other person that's kind of being a bit dismissive needs to catch themselves, not expect the other person to just grit their teeth and be okay with it and realise it's not a big deal. Because we should not expect that of anyone. And I think when, you know, the thing that we've tried to emphasise a lot since the beginning is we try not to say it's okay, whether it's the kid has fallen over physically and we like jump on top of them and go, you're all right, mate, jump up, or the parent or the child who's really struggling. And that's what we talk about on here.
Yeah, but I'm like, practically speaking though as well, I do that. You know that whole, you're right, like don't look at him, that one as well. But like, no, not a big accident. Like, you know the one, you all know, you know the one I'm talking about.
No, like, mate, we don't know.
Yeah, the one where they have the tumble and you go, oh no, they're all right, just, you know, look at that, you do that, you know. Yeah, nah, and then you go, nah, mate, you're over there, and you're like, oh, let's go over there. You know, that one, like, you don't want to gloss over it, but like, I don't know, how do you find that balance, or is that possible?
Yeah, so how are they going? Like, and you know, all kids and all adults should feel success every day in their parenting and their relationships and the things that matter to them. And a lot of parents out there haven't felt that for days and days and weeks and months and months. Like, I meet parents in clinic when I ask, do you think you're a good parent, or when was the last time you enjoyed them? And they're like, I don't think I'm a good parent. And you know, it's a really important thing that we actually as a community around those parents, whether you're their partner or you know them at the club or whatever, about changing that narrative around that parent, because it gives them more power to support the kids in their care.
Yeah, if you're in seeing you, like, you're a good parent. Like, you've waited a long time, you've made that commitment, you're trying your butt off, right? Like,
Well, mate, I actually think everyone is good parents.
Like, there's no bad kids, right?
There's no bad kids and there's no bad parents. Every parent I've ever met, and this is over 20 years, they're just holding more than you and I are. Like, you know what I mean? That's the trick, is that a lot of these parents, like my favourite kids to meet in clinic are, like, we do a behaviour clinic every Wednesday morning. Everyone thinks I'm nuts, but it's my favourite clinic because it's all these kids that no one else wants to see. Like, other professionals have said he's too hard, can't go back to school or whatever.
Why do you like it?
I adore meeting those kids, like, probably because I'm looking for myself a bit, but the gain is so big. And, warmth is new to those kids, like, especially from a professional. Someone being excited to see them and meet them, that's a new feeling to them, and that they pick it up pretty easily. And, it's this interesting thing, but those parents as well, it's a beautiful privilege to find something in them. But there is no bad parent. Every single parent loves their kids.
Yep.
I'm no better a parent than any other parent. I've just had a different experience. Like, even the trauma stuff, like, I've just been able to heal from it in ways that other people haven't, and use it into something that one particular psychiatrist would say in an unhealthy way. but
350 people would say otherwise, sitting here, which is great.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's an important thing, and I think that's the power of the podcast and the power of, like, what Guiding Growing Minds is trying to do is we can shift this stuff, and we can shift it through research and what's informed clinically and all the amazing kids that I've met. And you make me feel like a better parent, mate.
Yep. Yeah. I think you're great. Like you say, like, the time, it's not about the amount of time, it's the quality of time, and I see you do it really well. Like,
but you've genuinely said to me, like, mate, I watch you with the kids, and, I admire it. And I'm still waiting for a compliment about something else that I do, but...
No, you're well trained in all this. No, you're very fast. Do we have to talk about... Do you want to bring that up? No.
No, we'll save it for the Sydney Opera House.
The Opera House. We're going to the art centres of Australia. It's amazing.
It is amazing.
Should we move it along?
Yeah. So no surprise what the third movie is going to be. The fiercest portrayal of a parent that's ever been in cinema. And possibly my favourite Photoshop.
We're not doing the scene on the nose.
So it's really funny. We have a lot of dads that write in, and they're like, "Mate, I love the pod, but I'm a bit annoyed. I've been trying to convince my partner to watch Aliens for 20 years, and she finally checks it out because of your podcast." And it's this phenomenal movie. It is a truly great movie. Like, it's a truly great movie because it's this powerful female who fiercely, like, people worry, like, I'm not talking about permissive parenting, emotional support, being sensitive, responsive, predictable and caring and unconditionally loving is not letting kids walk all over you. That is what Ripley is. Ripley is like, I'm out in front, I'm protecting you. Like some would say, like Nick is protecting me in the Photoshop. But it is this fierce, I'm in front of anything that comes, even if it's your fault. Even if you've made a mistake, I will catch the heat of it first because I'm your parent. The famous line, I think we've sworn it before on the podcast, but get away from her, you bitch. It's this powerful moment in cinema history where she comes out to face the Queen because Newt, this gorgeous little traumatised girl, is vulnerable. And she puts herself in front of her. And she is this fierce, amazing, like, warrior. And I meet these mums in clinic usually who have kids that have diagnoses that I never use, like oppositional defiant disorder or conduct disorder and stuff like that. And they are fighting the world trying to protect this kid from being called a bad kid, from being kicked out of school, from being whatever. And they're actually the best parents I meet because they're not only holding more than me, they're doing it better than me. And so Ripley is this beautiful archetype of that. And so, yeah, do you love this movie?
Yeah, I love the movie. It was one of the first movies I can remember seeing and just thinking it was amazing. Classic. Watching this is what 1986 or so. I remember watching it probably 1988, probably a bit young, but it was the 80s. It was the 80s. It was the 80s. It was the 80s. But you used to watch these films and it was just magnificent.
Yeah.
I think I had the first half recorded. Didn't have the second half, someone taped over it. That had half of Grease as well. All of Superman.
You guys had VHS or something, didn't you?
Yeah, VHS.
So did I. You're only a year older. I'm just stitching you up. But beautiful. Should we do it?
Yeah, let's do it.
The final scene.
What's her name again?
Rebecca.
Now think, Rebecca. Concentrate. Just start at the beginning. Where are your parents? Now look, Rebecca, you have to try and help.
Gorman, give it a rest, why don't you?
Total brain lock.
Physically, she's okay. Borderline malnutrition, but I don't think there's any permanent damage.
Come on, we're wasting our time.
Try this. It's a little hot chocolate. Here you go. Whoop. That good, huh? Uh-oh. I made a clean spot here. Now I've done it. Guess I'll have to do the whole thing. Hard to believe there's a little girl under all this. And a pretty one, too. You don't talk much, do you? Oh, I don't know how you managed to stay alive. But you're one brave kid, Rebecca. What'd you say?
Newt. My name's Newt. Nobody calls me Rebecca except my brother.
Newt. I like that. I'm Ripley. It's nice to meet you. And who is this?
Casey.
Hello, Casey.
Yeah. Try this. Little instant hot chocolate. Oops. Spilled it. Oh, now I've gone and done it. Made a little clean spot. Have to finish the rest. Hard to believe there's a little boy under all this. And a very handsome one, too. You don't talk a whole lot, do you? I don't know how you survived so long. But you're one brave kid, William.
Billy.
What's that?
My name's Billy. Nobody calls me William.
Billy. That's a sweet name. Nice to meet you. I'm Ripley. And who's this? What's your doll's name?
This is Nick. He's my only friend.
Oh, I'll smooth over, yeah.
Watch the...
I didn't do it. Yeah. Billy, we didn't change that scene except for a couple of names. Why?
Yeah, so that's mental health first aid. It's this beautiful, from the moment you watch it, like she pushes the authority figures out of the way and doesn't say anything. She starts cleaning her. She gives her nutrition. Like, that is the same if it's a toddler and a self-harming teenager. You go towards them gently and you don't use words and you show them that I'm here to help. I want to heal you, I want to support you, I want to nurture you. And that's what we are. And you watch how responsive she is. She's so gentle, she starts cleaning her and she just wants to connect with her. And that's what all of us are seeking. Like, hopefully PCP does that for everyone who listens and feels like a part of the community. And that's what mental health first aid is. So much of us, we get caught up in saying the right thing, or I've got to make them strong and resilient, they need to toughen up. But that's not true. Like, this is a traumatised kid, and this is a lot of kids in our community. Adverse childhood experiences are abuse, sexual, physical, emotional neglect, physical, emotional, household dysfunction, chaos, maternal illness, paternal illness, everything that we know a lot of people experience. And actually, 1 in 5 kids experience 3 or more of those in Australia. Like, lots of us grew up with this stuff. We are not at the point of resilience. 1 in 5 kids have experienced 3 or more adverse childhood experiences. A lot of this is not history for these kids. Like, a lot of these kids are in active developmental trauma. They are not safe at home. Like, I've said it so many times, but yeah, sorry.
No, how do you stuff that up? So Ripley does the perfect job. We only changed the names, whatever, but how do you get it wrong? Like, what's the worst thing you can do?
There's really important components of mental health first aid. What we know is, like, watch the kid as you're coming towards them. Educators are the most important professionals in the community, and a lot of what I've learned has been from them. Watch them and go gently towards them. And remembering, we build the strength of relationships in times of calm. A lot of the time we want to build it with the kids, it's completely dysregulating, but they don't feel safe. So safety is the first step.
Okay.
And like, in safety in the relationship, safety in the home, safety in the community, safety at school. And thinking about that, there's this amazing thing that we think about when, like, the Thelma and Louise scene, we're sitting next to each other so that all of you can see, but actually that's how we should do it. We know that if we sit across from someone and say, hey, how are you going? They're less likely to disclose something they feel uncomfortable about as compared to sitting in a car next to them or going for a walk with them. We feel safe because we're not confronted, and kids are just the same. We should always be at the same level as them or below them. We should have open body language, slow and low tone. All that stuff helps us feel safe. It's not magic, it's what co-regulation is, and it helps. Right now, he's probably got a very calm nervous system, Nick, but the fact that I slow my voice down and just take some time and I'm open calms all of us. And there's a reason. That's what the kids are no different. They're wired to be like that. It shows that I feel safe up here, and hopefully Nick feels more safe because of it. Yeah. And it's like it's a skill we learn together. Like, Nick and I have done about 200 hours because of how long I talk for sometimes on the podcast. But, we've got this bond that's even more than before, we started.
So less about, because I think, like most people, I personally would be like worried about saying the wrong thing, but it's more just about the delivery on the same level, that sort of jazz, like getting that bit right.
Yeah, and just like so remembering the key things are like sensitivity. I'm watching you, I'm sensitive to the fact you're having a different experience to me.
Yep.
Like, in the moment. So like the mum in Home Alone, she's sweet. She's a bit stressed, but she's sweet. And so she doesn't understand that he's having a different experience.
Right.
Thelma tries to move past. If you remember the scene, what does she do? She's like, it's okay, get up, drags her out of there, everything's going to be all right, and pushes her through the door. We do that to so many kids, We're like, mate, you've got to get in the car, I've got to drop you off at childcare, you've got to go to this thing. And we just do that instead of dropping down with them. And it's like, it's not about that, it's about connection. And, we all fiercely love the kids we care about, and we should be fierce like Ripley and think like, how do we practice that? How do we give it to them so much there's no way they don't pick it up? And we're sensitive to how they receive information, how they think about love, all the stuff we spoke about in the last topic. And so I think it's just about practicing that and prioritising it. And I might have said recently, I often talk about like a dad. You know, dads will go and like spend all this money on golf gear, and they like watch these golf videos and like get lessons and go to the driving range and practice to drop a handicap. And I'm like, they care way more about their kids than they do their handicap. But they don't think about parenting like that. They think about golf like that. And I actually had one dad write in, he's like, I'm pretty offended, Billy. He's like, I actually listen to the podcast at the driving range. Like, fair enough. Fair enough. So shout out to that person. Hopefully he's still listening. But it's important. This is like what we're trying to do. Like what we're trying to do with Guiding Growing Minds and PCP is this is a skill set. Like I want to share it because I've benefited from it. I've seen the benefit of all these kids in the journey, and it's this amazing thing that we all get to learn together and get better at. And if anyone guides us, it should be Ripley.
Okay, brilliant. I love it. I think I'm going to crush people at the moment. They've got no more acting scenes left.
Yes.
So that's
all you came for.
I know. It's highly disappointing. So we are now, I think, Billy, it's time to turn to a little bit of Q&A.
Yeah, so we thought we'd do some Q&A, and like there'll be a couple of roving mics. I've got no idea. Hopefully I'm kind of on time borderline.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Just, I'm not being stupid. There's going to be photos of it. And so I felt bad. It was one thing I had to do right. Sorry.
Definitely a dad force on that. You're not allowed to brush my hair. But yeah, I think we've got, maybe if people feel comfortable, I think we've got a couple, Mike and Mike maybe, but if people feel comfortable throwing a hand up, there's 2 mics and like, yeah, does anyone feel comfortable? Once one person goes...
I've got lots of questions. Yeah, okay.
Yes, amazing. And it's just before we start, we do facilitated sessions for professionals and run like parent groups and stuff. Guiding Growing Minds is going to start doing this. But this is a safe space. This is a place where you might hear something different to what you've heard before, like a different approach. We've got to remember everyone's here at like, as we found out, not for the humour and fashion, but everyone's here trying to be really good at this. So like it's really safe. But yes, if you wouldn't mind going first, that'd be amazing.
Hi, I'm Caitlin. So we have a 6-year-old boy who's just finishing his first year of prep. He has an ADHD diagnosis, and it's been a rough year. He's really struggled with prep, but he's finally getting the hang of it. But in the last few weeks, he has had a couple of incidents where he's been hitting other children. And one of the incidents, he got sent home from school, and the other one, we just heard about it at the end of the day. But how do we talk to him about that? So he comes home, we've been told by the teachers about what's happened, but the incident's gone. He's calm again. The first time we raised it with him, and his reaction was, I only hit him twice, and I said sorry and stopped talking to me about it, Mum. Yeah. So how do we connect with him about that? How do we explain to him it's not okay, but without shaming him or doing that thing that you talked about earlier, where you're trying to correct it, but you know, the opportunity to learn has sort of passed.
Yeah, definitely. And Jesus, starting school sounds tough. Like, how do you feel about starting school?
School is school's not daycare, is what I'd say. Like, it's not like, it's really different. Like, it's amazing. Like the best parts are I love it. The reading, when they start to read and they start to do these things and show an interest, and then just things like grades for the first time. Yeah. And I love it. The thing I'm like saying, oh, it's not the same. Like, it's just the precision required. That's what I have the biggest thing about, like, you know, it's got to be 9 on the dot, and, you know, it can't be like just after 3. Like, it's nothing that the school's doing and saying, oh, you can't do this. It's just like, you know, as a parent, you've got to pick them up and drop them off. Like, that's what you've got to do.
Because I reckon one of the beautiful things, I remember earlier on the podcast, you talked about how for months the girls went in pyjamas because you just couldn't get them.
I swear for 4 months, there's no way that she wouldn't have gone, if we were in 4 or 5 days a week, I'm looking at my partner, 4 or 5 days a week for 4 months straight, and but you just can't. Yeah.
All the times when you came back home with one of them?
Yeah, failed drop off, and she's not going today. Mum's just like, and I'm like, I just couldn't do it. Just wasn't the right vibe today.
It's so beautiful, mate, because that's sensitive and responsive. So yeah, it's really challenging. School is a big step for a lot of kids, and we often get asked in clinic whether kids should move up or not, and the decision should be made based on not their vocabulary, their reading, their academic ability. It should be based on their social and emotional skills. Your social and emotional skills are the biggest predictor of your trajectory and success of school. ADHD makes some of those things hard. And that kind of impulse control, or once again, I've forgotten the guy's name, but you know, the Ferrari with BMX brakes, you know what I mean? It's like, it's really hard. And it's like, what you want to think about is like the repair is not the skill set development bit. It's like, what are you struggling with that I can help you with? And it's probably emotional regulation. But remembering ADHD is an executive function problem, and we often get asked to medicate kids who are having emotional difficulties, and it's meant to give you some capacity to not respond to those emotions immediately. But the biggest risk in medicating kids, especially if they're anxious, is that you're not meeting that emotional need. And trying to figure out what that emotional need is a really important thing. The challenge is what happens in clinic sometimes is I'll say that, and it's usually a dad, and he'll then look at the kid and go, mate, what's your emotional need? He probably doesn't know, since most adults don't know.
Like a really practical one, I'm not going to put it on spot, but like, let's say that incident has happened with that little kid 11 o'clock in the morning, and you get home at 5 o'clock at night. It's 6 hours after the fact.
Yeah, I'd sit down and say, mate, you've had a tough day today.
Yep.
I've heard it wasn't great for you, and maybe it wasn't great for other people.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that's happened to you.
Yeah.
And I wonder how you're feeling about it.
Yeah.
Because you've got to remember, like, I was reading a book to Yvette the other day, and, like, what was it? It came up about something. She asked about, like, she's like, where's your mummy? And I was like, I'd never spoken to her about it. And I was like, oh, she's not around anymore. And you could see her, like, puzzling with it. She's like, what was her name? And I said it. And then she was puzzling. And then she was just like, okay, let's read the book again. And I was like getting ready. I was like, I'm going to tell this story and all this stuff. And I'm like going to go through it. I was getting a bit emotional. And then she was done with it. And I need to follow her lead on that. So I think that's the tough thing is like caring parents, like I imagine you are, you're like, this is the time I'm going to talk about this. But actually, like even we train professionals in this about how you talk with parents. You ask at the start of a consult, you walk in and I go, it's amazing to meet you. My name's Billy. Like, we're going to spend this much time together. I'm not doing it out of generosity. We're going to spend this much time together, and I hope I'm helpful. I get paid to be helpful. I hope I'm helpful, and you're going to decide what we talk about. Are you ready to have this conversation right now? Do you have everything you need? Now, that's like if you have to have a tough conversation with a parent as a teacher, if you have to have a tough conversation with a kid. Like, how are you going? Check in. How are you feeling? I've heard this happen. I'm here to support you. I'm sorry that happened. Do you feel like talking about it now? And if they say no, you've got to give them that autonomy and say, all right. The challenge is you want to do that. So you always want to do that for repair. It builds attachment. It builds like, you know, unconditional love and support. What it doesn't build is the skill set the kid needs with whatever they're struggling with. The problem is, like we often talk about, the playground is Lord of the Flies. Like, I will never forget walking in year 11, the new school in term 4, that the only school that would take me, and having to walk over to a group of people and introduce myself, you know, as like a 16-year-old or something. Those are wild spaces that I think we've forgotten, maybe we've buried it, but they were hard spaces, you know what I mean? So like a lot of kids are lashing out, not because something's wrong with them, they're just struggling. And like you've probably got a sensitive kid who's just finding it hard. So you want to think, what's the need that's getting met? How can I give you a slightly easier way? This is me crap. Imagine I burn the whole 30 minutes on one answer. I'll just be like,
okay.
No, I want to say one more bit. So there's a help-seeking hierarchy that kids go through. And people, I might have said this before, so sorry. But often they start with externalising behaviours like hitting. And then often they internalise. They're the 2 bottom rungs. Then they start figuring it out and predicting it from like what we call operant conditioning. They kind of go, that environment's hard for me. And what they do is they avoid. So they won't want to go to school anymore, or they won't want to kind of bring up how they're feeling or share with their brother or whatever. Then the next healthy rung is help seeking. The final rung that most of us don't get to is independently problem solving. Like often we need people to help us. All you want is for kids who are struggling is to help seek. Do you know what I mean? Like, we often jump all of those rungs and we go, you're hitting, sort it out. And it's like, if you're dysregulated, that's very hard to do even as an adult, you know? So just what you want them to understand, that emotion is okay. Having an emotional difficulty, that's fine. Let's practice and learn healthy ways. And if you need to help seek, there's adults in that environment that genuinely, there's no teacher doing it for the, you know, fame or money or anything like that. Do you know what I mean? Teachers, the system is what's broken, but teachers are phenomenal, and like helping that kid in calm learn who is the teacher that you help seek with, and know that you just need to go up to them and they'll support you and they'll do all of the things Ripley just did. They'll get down, drop to your level, care for you, show you there, all that stuff.
Yep.
Anyway.
Love the teachers.
I'll see if we fit more than one question.
Yeah, okay. That was good. It was thorough. It was thorough. It was 9 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's keep moving.
I love
Did you hear that?
Yes.
Say it again. You didn't have the mic there.
Yeah, I'm wondering, with all the information and advice that you've given out, is there any that you feel that you've received from your fans or your followers that you've taken on yourself, or it has really struck a chord for you guys?
Oh yeah, God, heaps and heaps. Like, yeah, like there's been a lot of people that have sent in these beautiful messages about, like, you know, if it's 100 that we get, we thank you for it, and it's amazing. Like, that's been beautiful. Yeah, do you know one of the best ones actually wasn't from anyone that listens, but this phenomenal maternal and child health nurse that was talking about, I used a bit of it on the Love episode, and she was talking about how, like with a baby who, we have an unsettled babies clinic, and really vulnerable period, like 20 to 30% of postnatal depression rates in, you know, really vulnerable period for lots of families. And she talked about the key is not to stop them crying, it's to soothe them. And it's like, that doesn't change, you know what I mean? That's a teenager, that's us as adults. Like, the key is not to make the emotion go away. And if we can think about it like that and be like, actually, my goal is not compliance, or you say sorry, or stop crying. It's actually, yeah, one of the best things was, because I've been going crazy with it, was, Billy, you don't have to apologise to cry. You know, when you're crying on stuff. Yep. And that was great feedback, I think. I'm filthy. I had one, and I actually mentioned in an episode, I think it was about episode 98 or 97, someone that gave some great advice, and for the life of me, I cannot remember what it was. And I said it. It was great. It was great advice. I was like, God, that's a keeper. And we talked about it for 2 episodes. Yeah. Yeah.
Like a goldfish. Oh, God, it's really good. But
that's all right. But no, it's quite funny because we listen back to the episodes and to find the highlights, don't we?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do every episode 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, I laugh along with all the jokes and try and get them in as highlights.
It's hilarious.
They never make the cut. But yeah, so yeah, I think there's been so much. Like, none of this is, I wasn't born with this advice. Like, I was, you know what I mean? I've learnt this off so many kids. Like, for the book is really interesting. Like, the book is so powerful to me because those kids, some of those kids I met over 20 years ago, and a chapter is about them. Like, for people who read the book, the kid who's like, you know, you shouldn't deduct points for when they stuff up the obstacle course. Mm-hmm. I was like in my early 20s when I met him, and he will stay with me for the rest of my life. Like, he's given me a lesson about...
That was in the daycare where you're like...
Yeah, for anyone from Frankston, it was at the the Frankston Council place that was, which was wild days. Wild days.
And you were working in a daycare?
Yeah, I was a before and after school and holiday program. The Seaford one, I ran it. 60 kids, I ran it for like 3 years. One of my mates had experienced his own trauma. This is completely off topic. But he used to do this trick where, like, the kids were being a bit like all over the place and chaotic, and he had no training and probably shouldn't have been doing this. But he had a lot of childhood trauma. This guy, I grew up with him, and his mum died in high school and like awful stuff. And but he used to get a $50 note and he'd show all the kids. And for Seaford Primary School, if anyone has any connection, there's a huge sandpit there. And he'd be like, I'm going to go bury the $50 note in the sandpit, and whoever finds it gets to keep it. Of course, he didn't put it in there. But these kids would be sifting sand for hours trying to find this $50.
Oh.
And that helped. That helped them calm down. Instead of beating each other up, they're all sifting sand.
I'm thinking about that.
So I learnt that trick at Frankston City Council, Seaford Primary School. So, yeah, lots of lessons over the years.
question.
Yeah, is there anyone else got a question? Yeah, amazing.
One down the front
here. Might just, Brooke, I'll just pass the mic along.
Maybe.
G'day fellas, my name's Nathan. I'm a school teacher and I really appreciate the way that you advocate for us. I work in a secondary school, and a lot of the boys are struggling. I know, Billy, you've spoken recently with the Imperfects fellas about that. You're speaking a little bit about like how we support our kids that we're working with in the moment. One thing I find hard is when there's 23 other kids to also help and get them on task and all of that sort of stuff. Have you got any advice that might help with the 15-year-old fellas who just don't know really how to navigate it?
Yeah, definitely. And I'm not just saying that. Like, my PhD is in working with educators about how to support kids who have emotional behavioural difficulties. So, I learned more off anyone than in that period. Like, we did 45 sessions in 6 months, with 60 of the best educators I've ever met. And because it's really hard. You guys are completely under-resourced, and you're becoming the final bastion of a community hub. You know what I mean? We've all lost connection, and school is the last place. I think the teens, a lot of it is giving them space. I think it's hard. I think that a lot of the times those teens are really struggling because those teenage years are really a test of what it's like to be an adult, but it's meant to be with a safety net. Often you guys are the only safety net that exists around teenagers that are really struggling. But actually giving them a bit of space, to dysregulate, to stuff things up and all those type of things. I think a lot of the time the teenagers that are struggling have this false narrative in their head, and I was like that. I was tough and get in fights and have a go at teachers and all that stuff. And it's interesting. No school would take me because of how bad my reputation was. The school that I went to, which was the last school I was going to have to do a cert to finish year 11 and then year 12. And they just I still remember, I just didn't hand something in, and they were like, cool, mate, you just get 0. And I was like, I'd never experienced that before. I was ready to have a fight, and I was ready to prove myself through it, and that I wasn't going to put up with them, and they couldn't tell me what to do, and all that stuff. And they just gave me the space, and I'd never seen that before. So I think it's really important that thinking about that, and also my relationship with you is not conditional on whether you comply with what I'm asking of you, is a really important thing as well with those kids. Because I think they can seem and they will always stuff it up first. Those kids, remember, most kids, predictability is more important than being good. So I think, that's why the kids will stuff up all the time, because they're like, I know what'll happen if I stuff this up. I don't know what'll happen if I trust this person, or if I admit that I'm a bit overwhelmed, or if I'm a bit like that. The problem is you guys should be better resourced to do this, but you do that in intimate conversations, you know what I mean, when it's just you and that teen having some protected time. And I think, once again, the hardest thing for educators is that you need to have protected time to build proactively those safe relationships. The parents who every time, because I meet them all in clinic, and they're like, every single time the school calls, it's because my kid's in trouble and they want me to pick him up. They're the only conversations I have with teachers about, but a lot of the teens, it's the same. The only time that teacher comes over to me, it's because he's going to have a go at me and tell me I'm doing something wrong. And how can you think about the ratio of that being 90% of the times I interact with you, it's because I lift you up? Now, I know you do that. Do you know what I mean? Educators are phenomenal, but how do you just go, that's actually the pathway? And remembering consequences are different to punishments, and consequences are we all suffer it together, and you actually knew it was coming. You had the capacity to still go down that path and understand that was going to happen, because otherwise it's not a consequence, it's a hazard. It's something they didn't see, they didn't understand, and then it's a punishment. And that's the hard thing, is that there's just a lot of barriers around those kids, and trying to remove them and try and prioritise the relationship. But you guys do it better than any professional I've ever met, because you do it with your one hand tied behind your back, you know what I mean? You've got so many kids, and there's just, we know, the rates of what's happening are increasing. We still haven't recovered back to pre-pandemic rates of what we're seeing in clinic, but teachers everywhere are just burning out. So it's awful, because you guys are the most important professionals in the community. Full stop.
I haven't done the professional stuff that you do, but I'm coming to the end of my first year of school, and I went in recently, did a reading day, and I was just amazed with what the teacher is able to sort of do, control, channel. I mean, they're really young kids and that, but they're amazing.
Yeah, and shout out again, I think I've shouted out before, Berry Street. Our team met with Berry Street last week. They're phenomenal. Like, those guys were looking at how we can partner together, because Berry Street are amazing, this phenomenal trauma-informed practice with an amazing team of educators that are all working really hard to just help kids feel safe and build connections with the professionals that care for them. So yeah, massive shout out to any teachers that are here. You guys are phenomenal.
We can do a couple more questions, Billy.
Yes, if
couple
people,
more questions,
yeah,
and then plenty of time outside.
Yeah.
Plenty of time.
Yeah,
outside.
yeah, totally.
We're not
Just
going anywhere.
2, 3.
You're going to be running from us.
Hey, Roosters.
Thank you.
Bit of feedback on the 100th episode. I believe in one episode you were going to say if you made it to 100, one of you was going to dress up as cowboy. Was it Cowboy Nick?
Oh yeah, you're
Cowboy.
100% right.
Oh, Cowboy.
Yeah, Parenthood.
Yeah, off Parenthood. I think I roped him into it.
Yeah.
So
Thanks for the reminder. Go do it now. Awesome.
That's what he's going to be wearing outside. The bath mat chaps, if you remember.
Yeah. As an orchid, I just want to say thank you for being a role model for sensitive men. I really appreciate it from the two of you. And I was just curious, how did you guys meet?
Yeah, there's a guy in the crowd somewhere. He's probably glad that I can't find him. But there's a guy called Dan you might meet later, who's actually, he won't mind me telling this story, but he's been the reason I've met two loves of my life. Because at the Golden Plains Music Festival, he was being a bit boisterous and stumbled over into a group of girls, and I was wearing a bright red lycra suit. It was tighter than these jeans, if you believe that, and because YMCA were there. And he's the reason that I met Annalise. And then he's also the reason that I met Nick. And I remember the reason. Like, I think people requested that he wear it, but he has this maroon velvet suit that it wasn't the first time I'd met him, but it was probably the first time I really connected with you, where Annalise and I were at a pub and with a couple of other people, and you rocked up with this beautiful energy. It was very funny because we didn't realise at the time that we were going to move, we were going to buy a place that was 500 metres from me.
Yeah,
so
just how the podcast ended up happening. You were asking about places to move to. I remember the first time I met you, like properly, like I'd met you before, but like we actually connected. I'd said to you, I was like, hey, you look great. Have you been going to the gym? And you're like, yeah, I have. And I was like, he's like, I've been going for a while. I was like, you look fantastic. And you were like, oh, thank you. Like, it was this thing. I was like, I really like that compliment. Do you remember it?
Well, of course I remember it.
You were about 8.5. My bad. I remember it so vividly.
I've been fishing for it again for 3 years.
You look great. But I remember it so vividly. I mean, you remember my partner was about 8.5 months pregnant with our first. I said it to you at Tom's place. Yeah, it was amazing. And,
it was beautiful. No, we were very lucky because we had a lot of early on connections, didn't we?
Yeah, really lucky. And just honestly, like, it was like, oh, Billy's moving in down the road from you. It was COVID, and we literally just started walking. And then, that's how the podcast. He was like,
we
I've
just
got this
walked
idea,
around.
I want to
Because
do
Nick,
this
we might have said this on the podcast. Nick loves carrying a baby around, don't you?
yeah, always be carrying the baby. Yeah,
but also you love it though. You talk about how beautiful it is to just have a baby in a carrier walking around, and so. We did it and kind of came up with this idea, and it's been amazing. Like and I think you're right. Like what we're trying to clearly I'm very comfortable being sensitive, but it's important those voices are out there. The Imperfect Boys are amazing. Like I pitched that to them as the live show, and they were like, mate, there's no way you can do it in 7 minutes because it's very funny. The live show was in Queensland, and I'd just done like a parenting talk, and I came out and they announced me, and I was like, has anyone heard of Pop Culture Parenting here? And the crowd was like, yeah. And I was like, that's pretty cool. How cool is that? I'm going to do that every time I do a talk now. And then it was just before the Imperfect show. I was in Darwin, I think, or somewhere. I was like, has anyone heard of the Pop Culture Parenting? It was crickets. And I was like, cool, I will not say that again. But yeah, the Imperfect show was interesting because it was. I wanted to do that, but we spoke about some other stuff, and then Bridget, who's phenomenal, like she's the person that the person behind the scenes who does all the amazing work said, come back and talk about what you mentioned to us in the live pitch. I still got way more than 7 minutes on stage. They couldn't get me off. Yeah. They were like flashing the lights up the back and everything. I was like, I got more to say.
It means go on. No.
So, yeah, but it's really interesting very quickly. Like when we talk about trauma and stuff like that, I've probably spoken about this in the podcast, but I remember saying it, the 7 things. I don't know if people remember the 7 things, but these kind of 7 things, I talked about it recently on the Hamish Blake podcast, but the traumatised kids that we're talking about who are struggling in school or whatever, like 3 of the things that really matter are in the house and 4 of them are outside of the house. And the 3 in the house are, I have people at home I can talk about my emotions with, I have one adult that keeps me safe, and I have a parent that supports me through tough times. Every single kid needs those things. The 4 things outside of the home are, I participate in community traditions, I have friends that care about me, I have a sense of belonging at school. Every kid should have that. And the final one is I have 2 non-parental adults that take a genuine interest in me. And Nick means more to me than anything because he is that, especially to a vet. He lights up and it's this beautiful thing. And Dan as well, who's here, like these beautiful men that just really care about my daughter. And it's like, how do we also give that out into the community? It's really important.
Yeah, careful. Anyway. Gorgeous girl. A couple more, because I think then we can all just do more questions outside.
Yeah, Brooke and so.
So,
and there's, someone at the back.
Let's go from this side.
Oh, God. Hi.
Hi.
Sorry, I'm really nervous.
You're amazing.
Yeah, well, I'm also half a bottle of champagne down.
Amazing. We'll be having a drink after as well, if anyone wants to hang around.
Thank you. I don't know how to word this properly, but I'm just wondering, is there such a thing as being too honest to your children? I grew up in a family who absolutely did their best. Dad, super emotional, but my mum, very blocked, like to the point where I found out that she had breast cancer by accident. You know, like we don't speak about emotions or things that are happening. And I've got a 5-year-old and a 2.5-year-old. And I think I find myself almost maybe overcompensating with like how honest I am. And sometimes I worry about whether like I'm scarring them with information or whether I'm just being a real person trying to figure things out.
Yeah, it's amazing. What do you feel about that, mate?
I don't know, tough balance. Like I don't know. I don't know. Sorry, no, I don't know.
No, so it is. Like you make me think of so many things, and how beautiful that you're even just thinking about that. And I think that's the generational change that's happening. Like people are going, am I doing this right? Where like all of our parents were so sure they were. I think like that they just had this confidence. I think watching the kid is really interesting to think about in that, and it's a bit like the story of me with Evie. Like I was getting prepared to tell the whole story about my mum and all that stuff, and then she wasn't ready for it, so I turned away from it. And watching our kids, I think that often one of the vulnerabilities that I probably more than anyone in this room have is that I will parent one of my kids the way I wish I was parented. Yeah. And that's not what either of my kids need. They need what they need, and that will change and move with time. And that's that classic saying of like, but I parented them both the same. Why have they turned out different? It's because those kids need different things and they'll need different things at different times. I think it's important that we show vulnerability about our emotions, our failures, all that stuff is really, really valuable. But I never saw my mum. My mum called me and said, I've got some bad news. I've just found out I've got this brain tumour. And I never saw her upset about it. I never saw her struggle with it. She just went straight into like, I've got to set everything up. And I never saw her angry, sad, anything like that. And it's kind of burnt me a bit because I'm like, I never saw that. I never saw her angry at the world about it. And I think,
is your mum my mum?
Yeah, tell me about it. I know. She was fierce and like, but there were also, I saw her struggle with stuff when I was a little kid, and I really struggled with that. I think that is a wound that will never heal for me because, she wasn't able to help seek and all that stuff. She was kind of on her own and all those things. But I think there is a vulnerability in,
us not being led by the kid. Like I probably, it was just some really awful stuff that, and then it was quite funny that when I was an adult, she wasn't able to like show any weakness when she got this diagnosis. It was just, this is happening, I've got to get all this stuff sorted out because I'm not, she was given like 9 months when she was diagnosed, so she was just told, that's it, and she survived longer than that, but it was pretty awful. But yeah, so it's, and it's funny, I can hear in your question and your voice that vulnerability around like, it's so kind of you to remember they were trying to do their best, but like how do we do better than that? And I think just watching the kid in front of us and thinking, what does this kid need?
Yeah. I think we're going to do one more question and then we're going to move on to some thank yous, if that's okay.
Yeah, we got one more.
Brooke, that's all right. Yep, someone.
I think there's someone, I feel like there was someone here who was early, like who has been putting their hand up for a while. If that's okay, unless, does someone who's had their hand up for a while, do you guys mind just throwing your hand up and then? Yeah.
That's all right.
Just to touch on what you said, so personally I come, and quite a few of my friends coincidentally come from a lot of family trauma growing up. Absentee father or emotionally unavailable father, unemotionally available mother. But then as you come to be a parent and you've thought you've dealt with all that emotional trauma growing up, then you have kids and it's kind of unleashed again. And you find yourself with a partner who has come from a very safe family, no trauma, easy cruisy life, like typical what you see on the movies. It's perfect. So how do you come together and kind of combat, one partner's trauma with another partner's perfect family and merge that together into how you want to perfectly parent? Because sometimes, personally, from my experience on my side, I'm the one with the trauma and I'm overcompensating. Even though my daughter's only 10 months old, I can say, don't be negative, don't say no, say, I'm here, mummy's here, daddy's here, instead of going, no, don't do that, no, don't do that, don't do this, stop that. How do you combine your parenting style to be what you want it to be, but also not project how you want it to be parented?
Yeah, it's such a great question, and I think it's hard, isn't it? Because I think what happens when we have kids is we've built walls around ourselves, but we can't build them around our kids, and that's what we know, and that's like why I really struggle with having a daughter. That I'm like, it's up to me how I raise Charlie, not how I raise Evie. Do you know what I mean? It's like I've got to shift that sensitivity in me to somewhere I can actually use it instead of making her, know how harsh the world is. I want to try and make the world better through Charlie as a boy. And I think being aware of that, you've got a beautiful reflection in yourself about thinking about that. It's important that when you have two parents involved, that you understand that you have different strengths and you shouldn't parent the same. But around certain things that you're helping kids with, it's important that there's predictability in the response and the support they'll get. Because if they have to look around and go, well, mum's really sensitive, but dad's pretty harsh, when I'm struggling with something, that's adding an extra burden to them about, like, I'm struggling with doing this thing, I've got to check and say, oh, it's dad, so I better just grit my teeth and jump on the bike. Or it's mum, I know she's going to be supportive, and thinking about that. But just your awareness, like, we should always be working on ourselves in the moment, but even outside of times of difficulty with our kids. And I do that. That's why I go and see someone because of my kids. Like Annalise is, what sounds like your partner is, she's just super calm. But it's really funny because you won't mind me saying this. I have a greater ability to have empathy with Evie when she's struggling because of that. Like, it probably helps that she looks like a mini version of me. She's got like a mop of red hair. But I joke about this a lot, but like, and I'd be interested to hear what Nick says, but I can watch her like having an absolute meltdown over something tiny, and she's like, I can't believe it's such a big deal. And I'm like, I can. I was like that this morning over something little. Do you know what I mean? So you'll have this sensitivity in you because of your experience. And if you can think about it like that and harness it like that, I think it's actually a strength.
Superpower.
Yeah, like I do. Like I don't want to change who I am. Believe me, through my teenage years, I wanted to in my early 20s. But I've actually realised that me being emotionally sensitive, sometimes too much, can actually help me. But yeah.
How do you deal when my husband's ultra relaxed? Like, Look, he can get his hand lasered and you wouldn't know that he's in 10 out of 10 pain. Like, he just breezes through life and is so fine. But how do you cope, like, how do you communicate parentally when your child's having a meltdown? I'm highly dysregulated and I literally need a minute. And he's just like, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah,
like,
totally.
how do you go, help me, I'm about to, like, internally combust mentally?
Take the minute.
Yeah. So yeah, but I mean, how do you?
I take plenty of minutes.
Communicate that without being like, take the
I
time.
do. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I just started to have to genuinely take quite a few minutes. To be like, I can't do it right now.
But you talk about it, don't you, mate?
Well, I'm good
you
out of the
peel
blocks.
off, won't you?
I love the morning, yeah, and I'll just be like, but there's certain parts of the day where I'm not great. So, I mean, I can always get better at it and always trying to. But I just do find that I genuinely need a minute. And I just call it out, go, hey, taking 5. And just go do it. Like, easy if you've got someone who's going to pick up the slack.
But I think it is about, about, it's about, do you, and I get the sense you do.
Take it. Sorry, go.
I get the sense you do, but do you have protected time where it's completely safe and there's no pressure that you can talk about this stuff with your partner? Like, that's the important thing. If you do, that's amazing. And saying, hey, I actually find it a bit hard how easy you find all this stuff. Do you know what I mean? And hopefully you get then validation from that and saying, yeah, that must be frustrating. And, hopefully that person says, like, what can I do to help you with that? Do you know what I mean? And then you say, well, what can I do to help you with the stuff you struggle with? And, like, I think a lot of the time we just live in pressure and chaos, and it's just like, Annalise, wherever she is, that's every day. Like, I wasn't surprised when the Christmas tree came in this morning. I was like, of course there's a Christmas tree.
It's amazing. Guys, Billy, we're going to do some thank yous.
Yes, yeah. So, yeah, we'll talk, like, thank you for everyone that's sharing it. Hopefully this feels like it was a success, but there's people thinking about it a bit more objectively than from the stage. But, so it wasn't my or Nick's decision if there's never another live show. But yeah, I think what I wanted to do is very quickly tell the story. Like, I've talked about Nick and I in the first time that we met this and talked about it. Josh, who I've mentioned, like, he's the lead singer of Earthcaller. We walked around the dog park and I said, hey, I'm thinking about doing this podcast. You reckon you can write the intro song? And he did. And it was, it's hard. Nick was like this, Nick's phenomenal. Everyone knows that. And I saw this, like, person that would come in every week and then every fortnight. But it was tough, and it was very funny because I learned how to produce, do the comms, all that stuff completely on my own. And let's be honest, I Bradbury'd it completely. And but about 4 or 5 people about a year in were like, podcast is great. It sounds terrible. I'm an audio engineer, I'll help you. And there was one of those people who's amazing that I paid for a while, and then I got an email from the amazing Brooke, who's on one of the mics. And 18 months ago, Brooke from AV1 said, Billy, what you're doing is phenomenal. You and Nick are great. We want to support you. And AV1 sent down a truck full of the gear, which is most podcasts that you do. I'll record it, and it'll be weeks, sometimes months before the actual ep comes out. We turn it around in like 48 hours because of how amazing AV1 are, and it sounds better. And Brooke and Kai and Abby and Tommy, these phenomenal people that have been doing all that magic with
AV1.
Yeah, AV1's here. Like, this is AV1, and these people are supporting it. Then the next thing that happened was I got an email from the amazing Lindell, who's here, who runs Just Add Colour. And Lindell was, brought strategy into it. I've been hopeless. Like, people are like, Billy, we'll give you money. I'm like, I don't know what to do with money. I just want to do this. I want to do this, and I want to amplify it and all that stuff. And so Lindell came along, and then Lindell's like, I think I've got someone to help you with socials. And then Ivy Street and Michael's here and Brad and all these amazing people started then once again, like, as a partnership, as part of a B Corp, started coming into it. All Things All Creatures, Kai and Abby, who are phenomenal, went off and started doing their own. It's great. Just Add Colour. By George Legal, we finally realised we had to have some actual legal stuff set up. And so, a bit too late in the piece. But those guys helped, which was amazing, Ivy Street and AV1. And you've heard about our sponsors, like our sponsors reaching out. And it's amazing. So check them out.
James is here. I don't even know where he is. James, I was like, I want to put some new artwork out in the world, and I asked around and said, what's the best place to learn illustration in Melbourne? And I sent the professors there an email or whatever and said, hey, I've got a paid gig for one of your guns. And then James reached out and had to, the first iteration of we didn't use it, but we looked way too cool and way too tough. And I was like, mate, you got to wind that stuff back a bit. So
it was like, you actually met us, mate. Like,
yeah. So it was amazing. And then a very funny story, which just indulged me for a second. But I was having a meeting with some of my research team who maybe they aren't that big fans of the podcast, and I was getting through the meeting. I was like, this is going great. The podcast doesn't come up. Like, we'll just it's the elephant in the room, and we'll kind of walk on. I was sitting where I work. And this person comes up, and I was just about to finish. I'm like, great, I've got through it without getting a hard time about the podcast or anything. And this woman comes up and goes, Billy, I love pop culture parenting. It is phenomenal and all this. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like trying to throw these ones. And this person is amazing. This is Terry. Everyone is here tonight because of Terry.
Amazing.
Like, Terry has done everything to make this night happen. She is a member of the Guiding Growing Mind board and has stepped in to now do all of this stuff. She was like, I can help you with admin stuff if you want. And I didn't think she realised it was like a 7-day-a-week job. So she's amazing, and she's come along, and then it's been like this phenomenal team, and the board is like really purposefully thinking about how we can best kind of meet the needs of all the community. And there's a missing piece in this, like, that I'm really interested about, because all of you here and people who read the book, like, there's a group that will never listen to the podcast and never read the book, and they need support too. And as you can tell, I like long-winded stories, but they don't have time to listen to me crap on about everything. I've got to think about how do we get it to them, and that's kind of the next
phase.
Yeah, that's the next phase that we have kind of off.
Done it well so far.
Yeah, and I think there's also our amazing partners. Like, this is, they have parented while we've gone and talked about how great we are at parenting. They've actually done it. Annalise has let me throw copious amounts of money into this as a very expensive hobby initially, and has unconditionally supported it. We do not have the space for this, but I was like, I'm really passionate about it, and she's just let me do it, which is amazing. And Henry's the same, the amazing Henry. And I think that for the final, what were you going to say?
No, go, that's fine.
Yeah. For the final thank you, I'm always so nervous that I've forgotten to thank someone. The volunteers are amazing. There's volunteers here with lanyards that are here for free, guys. If you see the people here, they're just here to volunteer because they care about it and make it work, and it's really amazing. So thank you to all of you. I've got two more big thank yous. But for the first one, before I give it, we need something, and I'm hoping someone can be helpful. Yes, the amazing Terry. We are going to bring two things on, and maybe if I can do it without pulling my mic out. This is for you, mate. This is an official medical certificate.
Springfield University Medical School. Dr. Nick Riviera, Dr. Nick McCormack.
Hi, I'm Dr. Nick. And then for the last thing to give you is you help us ride the waves of parenting, mate. And we know how much you love surfing. So we picked out a beautiful retro board for you, mate, and from all the community. Thank you.
Oh, it's inscribed. It says Nick's allowed to go to Bali for a month. That's so generous. I actually don't know what to say.
And you know, I almost got a Collingwood player to come and do it, mate. But Buck said he thinks you're amazing, and he's on a camper van trip with his family. But he loves the pod and loves what you do. So, and the final thank you is to all of you here. It's been It's been this, like Nick and I talk about this, it's really precious what's happened. This isn't like a podcast.
Yeah.
The podcast is like, how do we make money? Let's put these two people together and make it funny. But this is bigger than that. And it's bigger than that because of all of you and everyone that listens and everyone that contributes. And it's, it is meeting a need in me from my childhood about feeling like I'm helpful, I'm good enough and all that stuff. But you guys are doing that hopefully for each other as well. It's this beautiful journey that we are all going on together. We want to keep it going. And I just think how lucky are Nick and I that we get to do this together. People actually listen to us.
Love it.
And share it with us. And it's, it's phenomenal. So thank you. Thank you all. You're amazing.
Thank you, everyone. I'm overwhelmed, so thank you so much for that. I think Billy is not a person here that hasn't sort of been impacted by the work that you've been doing over the past 3.5 years and probably earlier.
We've been doing.
We've been doing. You always say that, but I mean, I'm the one that gets to come in each week, fresh eyes. You do a minimum of 20 hours for every episode, just building out knowledge so you can answer these questions so effortlessly. But there's also so much you bring to it yourself personally and part of yourself, and I think we've seen that particularly many in the last episodes. Like, we know how much it impacts you and how much it means to you, and how much you love the support and feedback from everyone that comes through. And I think that's the main reason we do it. Like you say, it's always that first DM or that first email.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
like,
I'm so
I'll be back
insecure
next
that,
week.
like, whoever sends through the first one, I like the F, I'm like, oh, thank God I can actually sleep now. So, because I'm always worried that there's going to be one that isn't helpful to people or anything like that.
No,
So.
it hasn't happened yet, and you just put in so much effort. It's hard. It's such an evergreen piece of work that if we stop tomorrow, and we do turn off for a little period at the end of each year, and it still has thousands of people every single day, because a lot of people need it, and you give it to them in a way they can understand it. So it's amazing. So
Well, you help, mate. It doesn't make sense without you, though. No.
It's all right. Awesome. I think that actually does conclude.
Yeah.
We've gone. 8:59. There we go. We literally just clocked over. So. Thank you so much, guys. We really appreciate the support.
We're going to hang around.
You're not
Josh
going to
is
get
going
rid
to
of
be
us.
back on the music, so
yes,
I'm sure there's people that have to leave, but Josh will be playing the music again. We'll be having a bit of fun together. We'd love to meet people and get to shake your hand and say hi and all that stuff, so please, hopefully enjoy it, especially if it's a night off from the kids.
Awesome.
Hi, I'm Billy, a developmental paediatrician, and I'm Nick, a developing parent. We're going to use scenes from iconic movies to talk about how we best support our kids. This is Pop Culture Parenting.
I know times are tough. It's hard to get by. It might not be okay right now, but we'll be alright. 'Cause I'm here for you, right by your side. You don't need to worry at all, dear. Let me dry your eyes. 'Cause we're